think so.
Okay.
One. Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 22 of Social Chats. We are in studio today with the guys at Coast Mountain Photography. Hi, guys. Hello, Mike and Brad. So this is an episode about photo and video. We've had a series on Social Chats, and these guys are pros, so it's going to be really interesting. So a quick note on Social Chats. This is a show that we do weekly on Facebook where we try to connect small business owners with leaders in certain business fields. So we hope this show will keep people educated and inspired. This is a live show, which means you can ask some questions to our guests. If you're watching the replay, you can type your questions in the comment field and we will make sure to answer them in a timely manner. Now, introducing Coast Mountain Photography. So I have to read it a little bit, but Coast Mountain Photography is a full-service photography and video production company that started in 1994 in Whistler, BC. They help businesses share their story through excellent image quality, creating memories that will last a lifetime. Coast started its business in response to Whistler Blackcomb Mountain call for a high-caliber photography company to fulfill its photography supplier role. Starting in 95, they began fulfilling requests to supply custom event commercial photography contracts. They have been expanding their services ever since. They can be found on coastmountainphoto.com. And here is my clapping sound. This is my favorite part of the show. So there you go. Welcome, guys. Welcome to Social Chats.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks a lot, Catherine. Really, it's great to be here, and we can't wait to talk to some of the people and share some of the knowledge we have of the photo industry.
Excellent. So I guess our first questions, a lot of our clients and people who take our classes are just starting with photography, but they understand how important it is for social media and for their websites and for their business in general. So they're just starting with photo and video. And I think a lot of people get intimidated with equipment and they think it's going to be a huge investment. They're not sure how to go about it. So what would be your take on what to do if you started with photo and video and what you should get, and if you could get by with your phone, or how does that work?
I guess it depends a little bit on how new your phone is, but most of the new phones are pretty good for the basics. So if you just want to post a video blog online about something to do with your business, you could do pretty well, but you're going to suffer with sound quality more than anything. So I would recommend looking at a digital SLR entry-level camera for people who are new to it. They're remarkably affordable. Something like a Nikon 3400 body with a kit, which usually comes with one or two lenses. The Canon equivalent would be a Rebel T6. These cameras are less than $1,000 even as a kit with a lens. So they're remarkably affordable for what you get, and you're going to get something that's much better than a cell phone to produce photos and videos with. Remember, it's not really the number of megapixels that the phone or the camera claims. It's really what you do with them that counts.
Okay, so the cameras, we'll put the notes for the viewers so they know they can refer to the exact model. So can you film with the camera, the same camera that you take photos with?
Yes. Yeah, they all do video these days. The difference between the base models and the higher end models is a number of things, including the quality of the autofocus, whether it shoots in slow motion, which would be called 60 frames per second versus 30, which is a standard speed. Sometimes it's nice to have a camera that shoots in slow motion. And some of the iPhones now and Samsung cameras have a 60 FPS setting to allow a little bit of slow motion. There's also some excellent pocket cameras, but the high-end pocket cameras are the same price as the digital SLR cameras, the single lens reflex cameras. Those are the cameras with the removable lenses. So you're not going to save money, but you're going to save space. So you can do amazing things with a Canon G9 or a number of the Sony pocket cameras that do really well with video and shooting in low light and video, all that. And they can fit in your pocket. You can take them anywhere. And they're going to, again, be better quality than most cell phones.
Okay, interesting. And then, so we're like a bit rookies here. So what's easy, I guess, with using your cell phone is that you can upload it directly to social media. So do these cameras have like Bluetooth or something or some?
Yeah, they have a Wi-Fi feature. Yeah, they have a Wi-Fi feature where you can connect them with your Wi-Fi network in your home or your business and have the ability to direct it straight into a computer, and then you can upload from there.
Okay.
And you probably, Catherine, you probably want to segment the business need in, there's a few different photographic or video needs that businesses have these days. And I think you really hit the nail on the head with the need for that immediate post. And I think for a lot of businesses, the easiest way to do that is through your phone. And whether it's photo or video, whether you're posting to Instagram or Facebook, if you're looking for something fast, but you're not looking for the best image quality, absolutely your phone's probably the best way to do it. But, as your business grows and as you want to project a really strong brand image, that's where you need to start getting into the higher level cameras. And I think that, when you go back to that initial fast post, Instagram post, something that you're going to do on your phone, one of the most important things that you can have is not necessarily your phone, but your confidence and your ability to be very confident that you know how to take a great photo. And we see, we do a lot of photo tours and photo walks with people who are learning how to use their cameras. And we see time and time again, people will go out and buy a really nice camera and they'll never read the instruction manual. So they don't have that confidence. They look at it and they go, wow, there's a lot of different buttons here and I don't know what they are.
So I'll ignore them.
So I'll put my really nice camera on automatic, which is fine. But really having the confidence to take great photos is probably the biggest asset that a small business owner can have, whether that's with your cell phone or with a higher end camera.
Oh, interesting. This is awesome. I like the idea that, I guess especially with Instagram, people want like instant gratification, but really you should go for quality over quantity if you want your accounts to grow and last. So maybe it is worth to just invest and take your time. So that being said, what would be your tips for like 3 things that people should think about when they are taking either, well, say a couple of tips for video, a couple of tips for photo, and especially outside. I guess there's lots of people in Whistler in the mountains, and it is super hard, I found, to shoot outside and with the snow. So what would you recommend?
I have there's a lot I could recommend, but for video, let's start with video. It's the KISS principle, and you know all about that principle, right, Catherine?
Yeah.
You really want to keep it simple, and you want to keep it short. And the shorter the video clips, the better. So that doesn't mean you have to have a 3-second total video length, but your video individual shots that you plan and take need to be very, very short. You should never be roving around with the camera in different directions with it running if that's what you want. At the end of the day, you want to plan your shot in advance. You want to think about a beginning and an end point, and it should be short. So that's a really important video tip that I think people need to know. Another thing that counts for photo or video is the light. So you can decide that you're going to film a segment with the bike park or Whistler Mountain in the background, but if you choose the wrong time of day, it's not going to look very good. So you might not have good lighting. So you should really pick your shot segments and your photo angles based on the quality of the light, not necessarily what's in the background, because the light on the subject, i.e. the person who's speaking to the camera, may or may not be flattering or project a good image. So if you work with the light, quite often as professionals, we like side light and backlight better than front light. Front light tends to be a bit more harsh. And a lot of amateurs don't think about that. So working with side light and backlight, so, locate your shot depending on where the sun or the source of light is coming from, makes a huge difference with any kind of camera, any cell phone, doesn't matter.
Mm.
So, and then a few other tips. We like to talk about checking your field of view through, on a phone, you have to just look at the view, but look in the background, look for people photobombing, look for garbage cans, look for, unsightly garbage or this, that, the other thing, and really be picky about what's in all corners of the background of the frame that you're framing up. A lot of people don't think necessarily to do that. And sure, you may, if you're shooting in public, you're going to get a photo bomber. Kind of, it's part of the sign of the times we live in. But that's really helpful. And then be a picture director. Be a director. Take control. Tell your subject what you want them to do before you start filming, and be very specific. And the more specific you can be, the better the results will be, and the less times you have to refilm or retake it, that sort of thing. So those are a few of the tips that will make anybody a better photographer or videographer with any kind of camera or cell phone.
Hey.
Brad really hit on a good point at the beginning of his discussion, and that was plan your photo. So really starting with the end in mind and thinking, what is it that I want people to think when they look at this photo? And if you're a small business owner and you're trying to promote a service or an activity or something along those lines, you really want to think about what is someone going to experience when they see that photo, and work back from there. And how can you make that photo tell a story, or how can you make that video tell a story? So some planning in advance. And I think Brad really hit the nail on the head with lighting. Lighting is so absolutely important.
Yeah. And what would you say for snow? I think, I found, say if you're shooting on a really sunny day on the mountain, I found it's almost impossible to focus without things getting super dark or super bright. So do you have any suggestion for that for people that are shooting outside here?
Well, for one of the things that I thought about when I read some of the questions we'd be talking about, as far as people buying a camera, is buying a flash with the camera. Now, the basic cameras have pop-up flashes, but they're not strong enough to compete with all the light that you get on top of a mountain. So it's really important to purchase an external flash like this one with any kind of camera. Now, obviously with your cell phone, you're somewhat limited to expose for the foreground and the background, because the background can be very bright with the light on mountains. But definitely for photography, getting an external flash or having a good flash will be something that makes an enormous difference in the quality of what you're talking about, balancing the subject with the beautiful background. Now, obviously, when we work with guests on top of Whistler Blackcomb, that's one of the things that makes a huge difference between our photos and the photos that people are taking themselves. We have big, powerful flashes. We require our staff to take multiple changes of batteries on the hill, and we take advantage of the ability to fill in the face and expose for the bright background. If you don't have that, then you have to pick a spot or pick a location where the light's a little bit more balanced. So no, you can't really shoot your face with the mountains in the background and the sun in the background, because again, you're in shade and the background's in bright light. So there's several stops or much difference in brightness there, and it's hard to manage that with any kind of camera. Certainly it makes a big difference to have a powerful flash to balance it, or pick an angle that gives you a better overall balance.
Okay. Then I guess we add a question. So we're going to write all the key points. We do a blog post with this interview afterwards with the key points, and then we embed the video in it. So if people are overwhelmed on B, we'll put all the things we're learning here in a way that it's easy to remember. So is there things when you look at some photos, so we see photos on Instagram and on social media all the time, are there things that you think, why do people keep doing this, apart from putting like Christmas trees in November and stuff? When you look at like an image like that, you're like, oh, it would have taken 2 seconds for those guys to fix this. It's a bummer people don't do that. Is there anything, do you ever, that ever crosses your mind sometime, or?
Sure.
Absolutely.
More than I probably should say on camera, but Mike probably looks at different kinds of photos. He's got a lovely family and kids, and looks at his friends and his kids' families' websites or Facebook pages. My big thing is that I need depth. I need you to take the effort to make a photo look more than two-dimensional. Photos are two-dimensional, but they don't have to look two-dimensional. And a big way to do that is what we call leading lines, or something compositionally interesting in the foreground. Again, doesn't matter if you're using a cell phone or any kind of camera. If you step 5 feet to the right and you give me a cool a piece of driftwood in the foreground of your sunset at Tofino on the beach, that's way better than just the sunset on the beach, which is very two-dimensional. By putting that log in the foreground and having that be your foreground, the photo's not about the log, it's about the sunset. But it allows the viewer to gain perspective and depth and get a better photograph of that sunset in Tofino. I think when I look at photo applicants in Whistler, Tofino is the number one most photographed place that shows up in portfolios of young aspiring photographers. And so I seem to have a lot of things to say about photos from Tofino.
Good. Mike, anything to add?
I think to a large extent, what you as a person and what you as a company choose to post on any of your social media platforms really says a lot about you. And a lot of people seem to have this desire to post frequently, to post very often, and a belief that the more I post, the better. And I think the caution I would have for a lot of people is, don't put junk up for the sake of putting something up that day. If you went out and you tried to take photos and you just didn't get what you were looking for, or you're not happy with the photo, don't feel that you have to put a photo up that day just for the sake of putting up a photo. Really, you should be the person who's curating your brand. And certainly photo and video are such a huge part of people's brands. So it really comes down to the person who's doing the post. Like, are you thrilled with what you've got? Does it talk about your brand? Does it talk about your company? Did it really fulfill that goal? And does it tell a story? And if it doesn't, you should really think twice about putting it up.
Yeah. That's we talk about that a lot in class too. To go over quality over quantity, I guess, is key, and also having good content to go with that image and so on. So now, what are your thoughts about copyright? I guess you're shooting gorgeous photography. You have your images everywhere. Like, how do you feel when people take your photos? Like, is it okay if they say you've posted? You have great social media accounts, by the way. We did an audit and check them out. They're doing really good, so good job. But what's your thought if someone say repost your images with giving you credit for it? Is that okay? Or would you like people to ask you, say, oh, I want to post a photo of the yesterday's snowstorm. Can I use your image? Like, how does that work? So that, or are they just simply not allowed to do it? Like, how do you handle that?
You want to take a stab at this?
Yeah, I think, there's really two ways to look at it. If it's been put out into the social media world, whether it's by ourselves or by someone like Whistler Blackcomb, who we do a fair amount of work for, it's out there. If people want to repost it and our name continues along with that image, we knew that was going to happen as soon as we released that image to social media. If someone takes an image of ours, whether it's off our website or off social media, and uses it on their website or uses it on their brochure without compensating, ourselves or really any photographer, that's a very different story. So I think the social media world is we know that it's out there. We chose to let that image go out into the world, and it's out in the world. And yes, we'd love to have credit every single time that's used, but it's a very different story if someone takes an image off of our webpage, or that is copyrighted. It's copyrighted work. We do see this. Probably not as much as other photographers, but we see it, and it's work that someone's done, not unlike a musician, not unlike really anyone who's creative, and once it's being used for another company to make money off of it, that's a very different world.
Yeah. So, for example, through our marketing contract with Mr. Blackcomb, 2 days a week, images go out to key partners in the tour and travel industry across the world. And occasionally, some of those companies take advantage of it. They will take our images and they will put them in an e-blast, and they will send them out to their client database, not in a social media context, but in a sales and marketing context, where they might say, okay, look, it's snowing in Whistler. Here's our 7 Whistler packages options to go to Whistler for the winter. And look how awesome it's looking already. That would be a clear violation of the terms and conditions. It's not relevant to the social media, which is editorial in style or in nature. And eventually it will get buried behind all the future postings. And so these things are meant to kind of live and have a short lifespan. So it's a really simple litmus test. Are you using it to sell a product or a service? If so, then you need to come to us with permission.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And thank you for clarifying, because I think I know that with our clients, sometimes when we see user-generated content, we say, oh, is it okay if we use your content? We'll give you full credit. And then we wait to have at least the okay, but I can totally see the difference. So thank you for pointing that out. Now, what do you guys use in terms of software for editing, like photo editing or video editing? And is there things that are, say, the basic and more advanced software, or what's the key here to get?
It's funny. We're not great people maybe to ask about basic software because we don't use it anymore. So we don't really know what amateurs are using these days. But I looked it up online and I got a few suggestions that look pretty good. We use Adobe Creative Suite with Lightroom, Photoshop, InDesign. And then for video editing, it includes Adobe Premiere. It's expensive, but you can pay on a monthly basis as a subscription, which allows you to always have the latest software upgrades. And you can budget for how that affects your business by paying a monthly fee. I think Creative Suite is around $75 a month or something. So not cheap, but obviously for our industry, a critical tool and a really helpful tool because it allows you to deal with websites, photography, video, flat sheets, any number of different creative mediums in the social media marketing world and in general for a business. So I do recommend that. But some of the less expensive ones or the free ones online, I guess paint.net, I got really good reviews online. Another program called GIMP and another one called Photoscape. All look like they take some of the best of some of these photo editing programs and make them available at no cost to people. It's a free download. I don't know what the catch is. You'll have to figure that out for yourselves. But those ones look pretty good. Again, if you're just looking for basic stuff. And again, we know that a lot of the cell phones have these programs built in to do basic photo editing. I think iMovie is a very good program for what it is as far as video editing. But again, that you need to buy, I guess, a computer to get your hands on iMovie. I don't know if that's a free download or not, but those are kind of my best suggestions. But again, we're not super familiar with the base model stuff anymore.
Yeah. I think, yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Bit of a shout out to AC/DC. We did use a lower sort of end photo editing package called AC/DC, not AC/DC as in the band, but
not
AC.
the rock.
I was like, all right, let's play some tunes.
Yeah, and they have continued to make a fairly low cost, more and more robust editing package that I know a number of sort of amateur photographers are using it and like it. So if you don't want to spend the money on an Adobe suite, that might be an option for people.
Oh, interesting. This is great. I know iMovie is available on your phone as well. And I know, I think both Heather and I started video editing with iMovie, both being stuck somewhere that had no Wi-Fi and we had nothing to do. And so we started doing videos and playing with whatever phone came with and discovered iMovie. And I think it's a really good stepping platform for people because it's so easy to learn. And once you understand like the basics of the basics, then when you move on to Adobe or something more robust, then you have the basics covered. I know we did an interview with Andrea Wing with Lululemon, the film, she works like film creative, and they were using the Adobe Suite. And also, apparently, if you're a student, the whole Creative Suite is really affordable. It's something like $30 a month. So and I think it would be a good place for younger people, maybe to, even if they decide to invest, to start with that, because this is what the pros use. So so good call on that. And the other production thing. Is there anything you would like to add as recommendations or anything to say for small business owners before we conclude this episode?
I guess, one of the things that I feel like photography is a really great way to update your image. And when I don't mean image, I'm not talking about the photo type image. I'm talking about the image of your brand and your company. So if you can stay fresh and current with your images, whether it's the more editorial style, so take some photos of your staff at work doing their thing and help your customers get more in touch with what happens behind the scenes with your business. I think you'll engage a lot of viewers. Again, it should be a good quality image, as Mike talked about. It shouldn't just be anything, but I think that you can give promotional shots taken in the best possible conditions. That shows one side of your business. You can also show your staff making it happen behind the scenes, and that's another way to engage viewers and help people sort of relate to your business, because all businesses are made up of the people who run them and make them happen. And at Coast Mountain Photography, we're a company that's 30 plus employees on any given day, and so there's a lot of different things going on, and people may not know what happens behind the scenes. So that's one neat area where you can create a kind of an editorial installment in social media and engage your customers and your friends and people who happen to be wandering by your site in a positive way that will help them relate to you a little bit better.
Awesome. This is great. So where can people find out more about you? Where can they see your photography, and can they buy images?
Yeah, absolutely. So we run the full gamut, all the way from taking photos of people visiting Whistler Blackcomb and taking photos at the top of the lifts and doing ski action and snowboard action photo shoots, all the way up to shooting some of the highest end hotels in the world. Brad gets to go on some pretty nice trips with some of our high end clients who bring them along with them to places like Hawaii and Panama and stuff like that. So you can find us at www.coastphoto.com. We also shoot in the Whistler Blackcomb Bike Park, which is bikeparkphotos.com. And then you can find us on Facebook as well, and also Instagram. So we're on all the platforms, and we really appreciate people taking the time to learn about ways that they can improve their business and improve their brand.
Yeah, and we have a blog on our site at coastphoto.com if anyone's interested in reading a little bit more of the behind the scenes of some of our photo shoots as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Social Chats. If people are watching the replay, you can always ask questions in the comment field, and we will make sure to answer them in a timely manner. We will write down the keynotes next to this interview, and also in a blog to come. Thank you so much for joining us. It was an absolute pleasure. We hope to see you on the hill to go ski all this powder we're having.
Nice. Cool.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Catherine.
All right. Thank you. So this concludes episode 22 of Social Chats with Coast Mountain Photography. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We will be live next week again with a surprise guest that would still be there to help businesses be educated and inspired. We hope you go out there and take phenomenal photos. Please share them. You can hashtag Social Chats, and we'll have a look at what you are doing. Thank you so much, and have a great evening.